Team Canada tops Group H 3-0 with a point differential of 111 points. I'm Noor Zainab Justin Pooni right next to me, and that's right. They beat France by 30 points, beat Lebanon by 55 points, then they beat Latvia by 26 points. I should honestly be wearing red today. I'm sorry that I'm not.
Where's your Canadian pride?
I know. Justin, where's yours?
I'm wearing OVO today.
OVO. Okay, I see that. But how about those boys in the red and white, my friend?
I think that game was very interesting, because if you woke up at 9:30 in the morning, which everybody should have, because if you go have a real job, you have to wake up at 9:30. Unless you work overnight, then it's understandable. But
call people out. They have.
Yeah, I mean, unless, given the circumstances, most people, go to
let's
work.
go on
Anyway, woke up at 9:30, watched the game. Canada came out so flat. After the first, they were down 23-13 after the first quarter. And what do we talk about on Monday? Immediately that came to my mind is like, oh, Canada took Latvia for granted. They're coming off with their foot not on the gas pedal. They're not taking them seriously. They think their talent will just rise and they'll be fine. And I was kind of upset. I thought Latvia ball movement, their offense was clicking. Canada was scrambling on defense. But then in the second quarter, you saw that late run going into the halftime. A 20-7 run highlighted by that RJ Barrett layup at the buzzer. And at that moment, I'm like, Canada probably played its worst basketball so far of this tournament.
Yeah.
And they're leading.
Yep.
That's a sign of a good team. And then when we saw what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did in the third quarter, 16 points, outscored Latvia himself.
Yep.
Noor, as you see right there, averaging 22 points, 5.7 assists, 8 rebounds, which is very impressive.
In the last 3 games, he has plus 25.3 as well.
Absolutely.
So he's really making an impact everywhere on that court. Yep.
We saw RJ Barrett, up 22 points.
Yep.
Kelly Olynyk has been so solid for this team throughout the whole tournament. Now I know people in NBA circles don't really, know much about Kelly Olynyk. They think he's just an end of the bench guy, a role player. But this guy has been an integral part to Canada's team this year. And they did this again without Lou Dort. Lou Dort did not play once again. Their best defender. Dylan Brooks was in a bunch of foul trouble, and yet they still found a way to win. Noor, it was very, very impressive. You mentioned it. They had the 111 point differential, the plus 111 point differential. They've outscored and beaten their opponents by an average of 37 points.
Yeah.
I mentioned that this was like dream team like with the 92 U.S. team. This team is very, very impressive right now. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Team Canada. They're playing together. They're playing committed. They're playing, their talent is showcasing it. And head coach Jordi Fernandez is doing a great job.
Massive shout out to him. As you said, in that first half, to me it almost looks like they're kind of like toying around with their food. It looks like, I know, I'm not taking Latvia for granted at all. Latvia and their coach, they came out on top. Anytime they had a timeout, even I was like, I feel motivated. I feel like I want to go on and beat Team Canada right now. But they were in there. Their ball movement, their defense was up to par with Canada in the first half. And this, like you mentioned, I think they just kind of woke up towards the final minutes of the first half. As you said, RJ Barrett with that layup. I thought it was going to be a throwdown, but he laid that baby up, gave us a 1-point lead going into the third, and at that point, that was history. Shai once again took over in that. And the one thing about Shai too, he's not too hot from the 3-point line right now.
No.
He's averaging about 28% from 3, but from the field, he's 80%. He went 8 of 10 yesterday. And just for me, it's like the mid-range is back. And how important is he to this team, despite everyone else contributing? There's so many guys. The one that you mentioned, I want a special shout out, Kelly Olynyk, once again. He has been just phenomenal. 15 points over the last 3 games. And it's not just that. It's also it's his defense. It's his awareness. It's him being ready to be wherever he needs to be and just making the right plays. Anything he does on that court isn't always going to show on the box sheet, just because it's all the right moves that he makes. So not just for himself, but to put his teammates in the right spot. He might not have the assist, but he might have the pre-assist.
The hockey assist.
Exactly.
Assist,
absolutely. So he understands the vision. He sees the court. So it's great to have a guy like that on the roster too. But it's just been fantastic. But I think Shai has been the main man for this entire team.
PER, points per game, rebounds. He leads his team in rebounds. Right?
Yeah, that's
and assists.
He had 13 rebounds the first game, I believe, against France.
Yeah, like what Shai Gilgeous. If I'm Sam Presti in the Oklahoma City Thunder and I'm watching this right now, just smiling.
I'm Masai Ujiri. I'm like,
no, we're not
starting.
We're not starting that narrative.
Okay,
Shai is not coming to the Raptors. Okay,
he could.
He's not going to. Okay, relax. Anyway, when I see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander play, this guy's entering he's already in his prime. He's a first-team All-NBA player. But we're seeing this guy just play and dominate the game from the court, and he can turn it on. All the great players can do this. If they're struggling during the first half, and Shai said it too. He's like, I came out, didn't come out as good as I should have for my team in the way they needed me. But in the second half, he became up big for them. And I think that's what sets Shai Gilgeous-Alexander apart from a whole lot of other players in this league. And now he's entering into that upper echelon of tier 1 true superstar players in the NBA. No matter what happened before, he's got that mentality where I'm good enough where I can get myself out of this slump. I averaged 30 in the NBA. This is nothing to me. And he continues to impress and impress and impress. And Canada is so lucky to have this guy on their team, because without Jamal Murray, without Andrew Wiggins, even with those guys on this squad too, even if they were here, he would still be the one shining above the rest because he is so good, Noor. He can dominate this game. And like you said, he hasn't been playing his best A1 game. He's been off from three-point range this tournament, but yet he still leads Canada in every statistical category. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now, behind Luka Doncic, might be making a strong case for MVP for this tournament.
I mean, unfortunately, Luka Doncic has just been on a riot. He's on a different level, and we did say he should be the one with the top points in this tournament. But right after that is Shai. But the thing here, though, is Shai doesn't need to be the guy the way that Luka Doncic needs to be right now. Luka kind of needs to carry that offense, and I feel like every shot that Slovenia makes kind of has to go through Luka, because they know for sure he's going to get that chance. And I think for Luka as well, he just kind of wants the ball. He's okay with it. He's comfortable with it, and he knows he's going to get that in. But Shai has the luxury to pass the ball around. Yeah. He's got the guys around him where he right now he doesn't really need to be the guy.
No.
He is the guy.
He's the main guy, but he's got enough talent around him to be successful.
Absolutely. Like, even if you just look at the last game, you had guys contributing from Kelly Olynyk, RJ Barrett, even Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
He's hit a lot of big threes this tournament.
He has been fantastic. I know Shai has been a little bit off the threes, but his cousin is making up for it.
And the other thing, Noor, is when I watch Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he seems to be the guy to bust the slumps. You know, when Canada's going ice cold and the other team's on a run, he'll hit a big shot to end that other team's run and give Canada some momentum. But going back to the Shai thing, I want to bring this up. So Hoops Hype came up with their top 30 players of the FIBA World Cup so far, based on a rating scale, right? So, of course, Luka Doncic right now is rated number 1. Then it's Shai. Then Nikola Jovic, right? But also in that top 30, you still have Kelly Olynyk's 14, right? Then you have RJ Barrett 27. Canada has 3 players that are in the top 30 players rating-wise this tournament, right? Yep. And that shows you the talent this side has, the mentality this side has. And look, Shai after the game said, look, our first goal is to win the group stage, but that's not the end goal. They still have 5 more games to win. And I think I love that. This is the first time Canada's ever come first in a FIBA World Cup group stage, but that's not the end goal for this side. The Olympics and potentially winning this tournament are the main goals for this team, and I love that mentality that Jordi Fernandez has instilled in Canada basketball.
Well, as you said, we know Shai is making noise not just in the FIBA World Cup, not just in Canada, but league-wide right now. Everyone, every outlet is looking at Team Canada because of Shai. But beyond that, we mentioned there's so many other contributing factors where he doesn't really need to be the guy who's Luka taking all those shots. So I want to ask you, Justin, who besides Shai has caught your attention? The one guy, if you had to pick besides Shai on the roster.
It's a toss-up between Kelly Olynyk and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think Kelly Olynyk, he's a vet of Canadian basketball. He's been with this program for a very, very long time. And he's a decent NBA player. He's had a good NBA career, but he's been playing very well. And he's a good vet to have in that locker room. And the other guy, like I mentioned, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's been, shooting the ball effectively, kind of the guy to just give Canada a little jolt of energy, a little boost of, a run, stopping other teams' run. Because Latvia was, playing very well, and then in the first half, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think, hit the three-pointer that kind of started that 20-7 run for Canada, which, again, propelled them to win this game. Dylan Brooks really impressed me in the opening game, but because of his aggressive nature, you're seeing him get in a whole lot of foul trouble, which is an issue, and I think he needs to understand, okay, walk that fine line, but don't cross it too many times. Because remember, in the FIBA game, it's a 40-minute game, and you only get 5 fouls and you're out, right? So he was at his 3rd or 4th foul early in the 3rd quarter, and he had to sit for a while. Thankfully, Canada pulled away, But you have to think with Brazil potentially and Spain coming up that they're going to need him on the court, and we're going to need to see Lou Dort back on the court as well, who has not played the last 2 games. But to answer your question again, Kelly Olynyk and Nickeil Alexander-Walker have been the 2 guys that impressed me the most besides Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, I love that. I think for me, it has to be Nickeil Alexander. I mentioned to you guys beforehand, Kelly Olynyk has been the guy to watch out for. 15 points right now. He's averaging 6 rebounds. He's doing everything on that court. Dylan Brooks as well, as you said. He does kind of have that hot temper, so you have to kind of worry about him on the foul end. But I think Nickeil Alexander has been so just smooth coming off the bench. You know what you can get from him. You can rely on him. He's averaging 23 minutes per game, 13 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 46% from 3, really making it up for his cousin. And then he's also plus 72 in 68 minutes. So you just see his impact is all about winning. Every time he gets on the court, he's making sure that the point differential between him and the other team, he kind of just brings them and creates that deficit for himself and for Team Canada. And I love seeing that. And on top of that, too, I want to give a shout out to Jordi Fernandez. He deserves so much credit for what he's doing with this team. He has been, we can't talk about Raptors and Masai and Darko now because they were in contention. Jordi was going to he could have been the next head coach, but they went with Darko for a reason. We don't know about Darko yet. We'll see what Darko does. But right now, Jordi is making a statement that he's ready to be the next head coach of an NBA team. And this is what he had to say when they were in the huddle yesterday against Latvia.
Possessions off on defense, and then we feel like it's going to be so easy here. This first quarter may kick us in the butt. You guys want to be first? What the We're down 10 now. Now we have to win.
You guys want to be first? What the F? Justin, when the F is he getting an NBA coaching position?
Very soon. Look, where's the assistant coach, the head assistant coach right now in Sacramento, a team that's up and coming under Mike Brown. That is where he came from, Golden State, right? And people were saying that the way Sacramento plays, they play fast-paced, ball movement. We saw with Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, just how good the Sacramento Kings were this year and how we expect them to take that next step into true contention in the Western Conference next year. Jordi Fernandez has done a great job with Team Canada so far. An excellent, excellent job. And if I am Masai Ujiri, I do have to have a little bit of, second guessing myself. I know the season hasn't started yet. I get it. But what I'm seeing, let's look at it right now, the landscape of the things right now. Darko Rajakovic caught cheating.
Oh my goodness gracious.
In the middle of a legal scandal with the New York Knicks. And you have Jordi Fernandez leading Canada to unprecedented heights we've never seen before. Now I get it. There's more talent on Team Canada than the Toronto Raptors have. I get it. Canada's a more talented roster. I'm just saying they have a first-team All-NBA player on there.
You're saying a lot right now. You're saying a lot. You're saying a lot of assumptions. You know what they say about assumptions? Don't make an S out of yourself.
Okay, let me ask you this. It's not an assumption. Okay. Right now, if you were to stack up Team Canada and the Toronto Raptors lineup, right, which lineup would you take?
Team Canada is playing also other countries who don't have NBA players. Yeah. The Raptors play NBA players, Justin. It's a whole different conversation. Let's stick to what we know. Let's stick to what we know. I think it's too early to have a darker conversation. I think you're even if you're doing it at home, don't do it.
Have it at home.
No.
Why?
Turn on the TV.
Don't censor people.
Talk about something else. It's too early to have this conversation. We can have this conversation in December. We can have it in January, but not when they haven't even played one game. It's August 30th. Please, I'm gonna move on from now. But I think we're ready to see Jordi Fernandez bring us on to Spain and Brazil. That's right. This morning, Brazil did beat Ivory Coast 89-77. Now, they're going to be in the second round with Canada, Brazil, Spain, and Latvia. Canada, of course, will not get to play Latvia again. It will be between Brazil and Spain. They'll play Brazil on Friday at 9:30 a.m., and then they'll play Spain on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. as well. And let's start with Brazil. Their only defeat so far has come from Spain. They lost that 96-78. They took care of Iran by 41 points, but Ivory Coast kind of put up a fight. They lost. They only won that one by 12 points. Iago Santos has been their leader in points so far in 17.3, with none other than Bruno Caboclo coming in second with 14.3. So, Justin, they're ranked 13. Canada is ranked 14 in the world. This is going to be probably Canada's toughest matchup so far in the FIBA tournament.
We're
not going to count France. I think it's obviously they're going to play Spain right afterwards. So they're building their stamina to take on the best of the best. So they start off with Brazil currently. How are you feeling about this game?
I think it was so important that Canada got that win against Latvia yesterday, because now your record carries over into the next round, right? So now Canada's 3-0 going into the second round, where if they lose a game or maybe two, right, they still have some leeway to play with, right? Had they lost to Latvia, they would have to beat Spain or Brazil for sure, right? For sure. The fact that Canada is now 3-0, if you look at this new Group L, they lead in points 4. They have I think Spain is allowed the second least amount of points. Canada is allowed the second least amount of points. Spain's going to be a really, really tough match. We'll save We'll save that for Friday.
Yes, exactly.
Right? But if we look at just Brazil, this is the game Canada should and has to win. Every game from now is a must-win game. There's no more playing games. You can't come out slow and just play with your food like you said again, like they did with Latvia in the first half. You have to go out from the tip-off and assert your dominance. Yeah. You have to play your game. You have to do what you've been doing in the second half of games. Do that for a whole, minus a Lebanon game, we haven't really seen a whole full 40 minutes of Canada playing their best basketball.
Maybe they
the France game, remember, it was close in the first half. Latvia too, they didn't play great. It was the second half surges from them that led them to victory.
It to me almost seems like they kind of figure out their opponent in the first half, and then they figure out what their adjustments should be in the second half.
Now you have to make sure that if you're going to do that, you're within striking range, because you don't want the game to be blown out of proportion. It's a huge game. This is now where you make your money or make your name internationally. You're now in the second round. You're almost in the quarterfinals. If you want to be in the Olympics and you want to compete for a medal here, you have to take care of business right now. Yeah. Right? I know you're going up against Spain, world power. We know you're going up against Brazil, right? They have talent. They've played well, right? They're the 13th ranked team in the world. They have a right to be there, but you have to beat them. You are Canada basketball. You have NBA talent that we just mentioned so far this tournament, right? Canada has to take care of business. Don't play with your food. Don't take anybody lightly. From the tip-off, I want to see Canada exploit Brazil and absolutely dominate as they've shown this tournament so far. It's going to be their toughest matchup, like you said. They have to play smart. They have to play together. They have to, do what they've been doing.
Yeah.
And if they do that, they'll win this game. But don't take Brazil lightly, because if you do, you will get beat.
No, of course. And I think you're right. I think they need to come off the first half and not do what they've been doing the past couple of games, where they kind of, figure out their opponent, almost like just figure out what they're going to be looking like, what their, what their options should be on that court. But I think at the same time, I'm not going to be too worried if they start off a little bit slow, just because we've seen that in the past. We've seen that they do kind of just, because they've never played these teams before. They don't know these guys on that team together. So you're gelling. You're kind of figuring out who's this guy? What's he better at? Who's going to be guarding me here? So all those things I think are going to be a factor there. But at the same time, I think this is going to be one of the statement games moving forward. This is going to be one, and then of course Spain after is going to be the biggest one. Yep. I think this group is actually the group of death. Probably for Canada, probably for any other teams out there too, because you're playing Brazil, you're playing Spain, Latvia you've already taken care of, but they're good. They were a pretty harsh matchup as well. You take care of the business second half for sure. But I want to see defense. I want to see this team locked in. I know once their defense is set intact, once Shai takes the charge offensively, and the rest of the guys know that they don't actually have to come out and put that ball in the net. They really just need to be alert and get their position right and be with the ball at the right time and cover their guy. I think once that's done, this Brazil team can be taken care of as well.
And another thing I wanted to mention is I was watching First Take yesterday, and they were talking about how important it is for the USA to win gold. And we know this USA team is not superstar laden, and they don't have the biggest names, but Anthony Edwards is proving that he's about to take that next leap, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did last year, to be one of the best in the NBA. And these guys were mentioning all the teams and like Slovenia, Greece, all of that. Nobody mentioned Canada. Right? They mentioned all the best players in the world from all the different countries. Of course, Embiid, Giannis, Doncic. Nobody mentioned Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on that. Stephen A. All of them didn't mention.
It's First Take.
But this is the thing, right? This is the thing. You mentioned the statement game. Every game so far this tournament has been a statement for Canada. Game against France, number 5 ranked team in the world.
Yeah, but that was a
statement
group stage.
win. What I'm saying is every game they've played so far and they're going to play, it has to be a statement, right? Canada has not got the respect yet of the world to, be put in their just due, given their just due, excuse me. That's why I think this tournament is such an important stage for this, not only just the players on this team, but this nation as a basketball country. We've talked about it before. How many times now? Just the popularity of basketball in this country has grown so much. This team has a chance to really put Canada on the map as a basketball power. We have the talent.
I think they're doing a great job.
They're doing a great job so far.
Talking about it. The issue there is listening to First Take. First Take might not know too much about basketball, but that's a different story for a different day, because Canada takes on Brazil on Friday at 9:30 a.m. right before they take on the defending champions Spain on Sunday. We'll be here right after the game on Friday to break down post-game and then also preview what their game could look like against Spain on Sunday. Keep it locked here on Hoop Talks.